Got Your Eers On is brought to you by Tactical Legion Knives. Live from the campus of Tom Radio, under the direction of Guido, Scoot, and Johnson, it's the pride of podcasting. It's Got Your Eers On.
All right, everybody. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Got Your Eers On. I'm Guido along with Scoot.
I say.
And Johnson.
Sooners? Psych. Cyclones, Guido.
Cyclones. So, we'll start with football, or the lack thereof. We started playing an awesome primetime game against Oklahoma Sooners on Saturday, and then Oklahoma got COVID.
Yes, unfortunately.
So that game was canceled, or postponed, until December 12th.
Right.
So WVU football went from having 13 days off to now having 20 days off between games, which I hope is a good thing. I hope they're fixing a lot of stuff between now and when we play Iowa on Saturday, or Iowa State on Saturday, because Iowa State is a good team, boys, this year.
Yeah, and playing really well. I mean, coming off a total spanking of Kansas State, and then they turn around and beat Texas in Austin. Now, I know home field doesn't mean a whole lot right now, but still, I thought that was impressive.
Well, and Brock Purdy's looking impressive as their quarterback. And, Hall, he ran for 135 yards on 15 carries.
Yep.
So they're a pretty well-rounded team, which frightens me. They're now ranked 12th in the AP poll, ahead of Oklahoma now. So it's the highest-ranked team in the Big 12 right now. So there's a lot that's going into this game. I will tell you, though, traveling to Iowa, 20 days of break, it all makes me a little nervous.
Iowa in general makes me nervous just because it's Iowa.
Just because it's Iowa. I just think that, and plus it's Iowa in December, which, I don't know what people know. I didn't know this, but Iowa, I guess, is pretty cold and brutal in December too. So.
Oh yeah, sure. Well, and I think, like we always say, winning on the road in this conference is difficult to begin with. I think it's hard to go on the road unless that road leads to like Lawrence, Kansas. I think it's really hard to win on the road. So to me, this is going to be another tall task. Now, I would hope, Guido, that 20 plus some odd days gives us a chance to tweak a few things, maybe add some stuff into the offensive playbook, tighten up a few things. So, Scoot, I would hope that long break would be to our benefit.
I think the guys will be up because this is our natural rival. Of course, when I start thinking of what teams do WVU and WVU fans love to beat, the first team that comes to my mind is Iowa State.
Oh yeah, who else do you think of other than Iowa State?
It's a close opponent. We're
practically
750 miles away, pretty close back door.
Practically side yard brawl.
It's like the front door brawl.
Right, the front door brawl. Do you think, and I know for Scooty, it's Oklahoma or nobody else. Like, we have to beat Oklahoma in order to have that sort of
correct.
That win that means something to you. What if we went into Ames and we stole this game from Iowa State and won, Scoot? Does it change your feeling on this West Virginia team?
Listen, the last time that somebody went into an Ames and stole something was 1993, and then they went out of business.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
Ain't nobody going into Ames and stealing nothing and getting excited about it, all right?
Guido, I think, too... Sorry, I tried to go by it without laughing, but I have to give you a laugh. That's pretty good. So I think, Guido, though, for me, in this particular season, normally I'd be like, yeah, yawn, like who cares? But I think in this particular season, I think there's a lot of hype around Iowa State. I think there's a lot of hype around Matt Campbell not being there after this season because he has brought them some success. They've beaten Oklahoma. Like we said last week, I feel like most people assume they're on the crash course to be in, Oklahoma and Iowa State, kind of a rematch for the conference championship. So to me, I think going on the road and beating a really solid Iowa State team, that's a great win for us this season.
It could be that signature win that, Neil Brown's looking for. Right now, the over-under is 50.5. with Iowa State picked by 7 right now in Vegas odds. Guys, what do you think the score is going to be this weekend for the Mountaineer Cyclone game? Johnson, I'll let you go first.
Well, I kind of think it's going to look a lot like this past game for Iowa State. I think, our defense is what it is. We're super proud of that defense. I think Iowa State's defense is also playing pretty solid. If you look at this Texas game, they won 23-20. I think, Guido, your man, Dicker the kicker, missed a kick at the end of that game to tie it up, maybe.
Yeah.
So I think I kind of expect our game with the Cyclones to look like that. I think it's going to be low to mid 20s. And I think it could be like a 20-17, I think is what I'm going to go with, because I think our defense shows up. I think once again, though, we are going to have some trouble getting a push on Iowa State, getting Letty going. The same things that I was concerned about going into that Oklahoma game before it got postponed. I'm kind of nervous going into this game because I think Iowa State's legit. I think they got a solid team, a solid defense.
Well, I'll say this. I think outside of us, Iowa State is probably the next best defense in the Big 12, and we haven't really played a strong defense in the Big 12 yet, and it makes me very nervous because we're not a strong offense. I'm picking Iowa State to win 27-7.
Okay, wow, that's rough. So I was thinking Iowa State 20-17, but you've got a much bigger deficit for
I
it.
got a much bigger deficit. I have a feeling Scoots is going to be even bigger.
Well, I think that Iowa State will score. I don't know that we will score very much. I'm going to say Iowa State 30. I'm going to say WVU 20.
Okay,
All right.
You're giving Jared Dagey a little bit more of room than I am.
I'm going to say the defense is going to score a couple touchdowns. I'm not giving anything to Jared Dagey.
The Stills brothers scored 3 touchdowns apiece.
I refuse to give anything to Jared Dagey. It's going to be Tyke Smith for 1, and maybe Darius and Dante will scoop up a couple others.
There we go. Well, we'll see what happens. That Iowa State game this Saturday. Definitely check it out. It's going to be televised. We don't know where yet. As of recording, they still haven't released a time or a place where it'll be televised. So
I'm sure as soon as we're finished recording, they will roll all that info out.
West Virginia travels into Ames. But guys, I think the most important thing to talk about this week is we finally got to watch some basketball.
Yes.
And it was awesome.
It was great. Yes.
It was, you know what? I have to tell you that I have been looking forward to basketball season so much. And after making a lot of fun and poking a lot of, jokes at
Sanford,
at Sioux City, South Dakota, at the Bad Boy Mowers crossover classic, I want to say on the record, pretty impressed how well this event went off. No positives for any of the teams as they went through. No issues. Everybody played. They all did good. They made a last-minute decision. The Sanford Pentagon, along with the people that were putting the crossover classic together, to not allow fans into the stands. So we didn't have any fans, but it went off great, and there were no issues. So kudos to them for that, first of all.
Yeah, and I think, Scoot, outside of Dan Dockich, pretty enjoyable 3 games of basketball,
sure.
Right?
Yeah, no, Dan Dockich was definitely a detractor of the fun times. But my only other gripe with the whole thing was the court paint scenario.
Yeah, kind of weird.
You didn't like the way the court was painted.
I did not like the way the court was painted.
I thought it was kind of cool. I thought it was all right. What didn't you like? Are you a classic? You want like a classic look to it?
Well, I didn't like this faded crayon blue that looked like and then I don't even know what.
You didn't like the lane,
They painted down the middle of the lane was a weird blue. I don't know. I just didn't like it. And then it's a dark parquet, which is kind of an unusual parquet.
I just assumed, Scoot, it had 2 things that you love: basketball and mowers.
I do love to mow, and I do love basketball.
I got to tell you, all those Bad Boy Mower commercials made me want to buy one of those mowers. They look pretty awesome.
And you don't even mow.
And I don't even cut my grass. Right? I
That's
pay
right.
somebody else to do it.
Yeah. So there's that.
But talking about what we really should be talking about, which is basketball here. So first take, we saw 3 games. What did you guys take away in these 3 games after watching them?
Well, for me, I think, not to be critical of the coaching, but I'll be a little critical of the coaching. I think we've got to get away from this this wholesale substitution. Like, we don't have to play 12 guys. I know we've got, 13 on Scholar. We don't have to play them all. We don't. And unless we're doing some sort of press Virginia where we're pressing nonstop, I don't think we need to do that. You look at most Division I, actually look at most college basketball teams. They're probably playing 8 guys the majority of the time. You might get a 9th and 10th guy in for 5 minutes or less. And I think when you have that kind of formula, it leads to continuity on the court. It leads to guys playing through their mistakes, because I think you've got to learn by playing through those mistakes. And I think where I saw the issues in game 1 was when, I don't know if it was like after the first TV timeout, all of a sudden we had 5 new guys on the court, and it was a random assortment of guys. It was Isaiah Cottrell, or Cottrell as some people like to call him. It was Taz.
Well, they probably took Oshwiebe off of the court by that
right,
time.
Oshwiebe was off.
Oshwiebe. That was my Oshwiebe.
But we had Jordan McCabe in there. We had Taz in there. We had Cottrell. We had Jalen Bridges and Gabe. Like, that's a rough-looking 5 if you're looking for offense.
Well, and I kind of I'm 100% with you, Scoot. Which is they had 8 players over the weekend. If you look at I guess it wasn't over the weekend. Over the 3 games, they had 8 players that averaged 10 minutes or more, which is great. That he feels that the bench is that deep. But it also, I agree with you that of those 8, Jordan McCabe was 10 minutes of that. Oscar was down in the lower end. He only averaged 20 minutes a game, and he got in foul trouble early
and
and
often.
Every game.
And often. Yeah, and I think Guido, for me, I had some good points and some critical points for me. I guess good. It's good when you watch a stretch of these games and you're like, man, I'm not so sure Culver and Oscar are doing that great. And then you look at the stat sheet and they're averaging double-doubles. I think that's a nice thing to have. I think it was fun when Taz and McNeil would get hot. That gave me these glimpses of like, oh man, look what we could have there. It looked amazing. And then I thought, just overall, I thought Gabe, as much as he's gotten this moniker now of can't score the ball, I think he looked pretty great, especially in the Western Kentucky game when we had some stretches of awkward offense.
Third game, he looked good.
Yeah, he got some good.
The first 2 games, he looked like the Gabe that we kind of knew.
But I thought it was really positive in that Western Kentucky game. He got some big buckets driving. I mean, he looked good.
But and Huggins said this too at the end of the whole thing, which is, you don't see on the stat line deflections. You don't see these things that Gabe does for the team.
Stuff,
the effort stuff that.
Well, he said he's the best defender on the team. He
is. He's a great defender. And what's unfortunate about it is that I think that people think that, oh, you got to show up points, and I think that's what made him look so good in that last game is that he put up 8 points.
Yeah.
But I agree with you on that.
And Guido, some critical stuff for me too, though, really quick. I think for me, it was worrisome. I mean, look, we came out of here 3-0, so I'm not going to pick at it too much, right? And I think these are 3 wins that right now we're like, okay, that was great. But I think when we get to hopefully tournament time, we're going to be proud of these 3 wins. I think these are teams that are going to go on and win some games. But I think critically for me, and we talked about it, I was hoping we could talk about it some more. And I'm anxious to talk about it with Brent when we get him back on the show too. To me, it looked like anytime someone turned up the pressure, either extending a trapping zone in the half court, or if they gave us a full court press, it was a little bit worrisome to see how much we sort of just panicked, it felt like. Panic might not be the right word, but we just really felt uncomfortable. We couldn't get the ball up the court, things like that.
I agree with you. And I felt like that, a lot of that somehow fell on when Deuce was the one. And I think he was having a hard time with it. And it was hard for him. I don't know if he was having a hard time figuring out the press or getting out of it or what it was, but when he was the one, and then you saw them bring in, Jordan, and I mean, say what you want about Jordan. I mean, he's a good ball handler, and that's what he's there. I mean, I think that's what got him the scholarship. You know what I mean? And so you see they bring him in, but I think Jordan's deficiencies once he gets past midcourt start to rear their ugly head. So that's something that Huggins, I feel like, has to work out, is if whoever the one is has to be able to work out of a press. Because if they see that McBride has a hard time dealing with every team's going to press us. It's
Yeah, that was my thought too. And Scoot, I have to think you see that now moving forward.
Yeah, I was worried the most. I felt, and again, I'm not a Division I coach. I was very, very lucky to have some good middle school boys teams. One year I was very dominant as a coach in 7th grade basketball. But anyway, one of the issues I had was when we were being pressed, we clearly hadn't really worked too much on press breaking, and we had Gabe flashing to the middle at midcourt as kind of the release.
Yeah,
that's a concern because he's not a great offensive ball handler.
Yeah. I agree. Not to hammer on Gabe, but I wouldn't necessarily want the entry pass
to a guy that we consider
him.
a big who's known for his defense. What are we doing?
It's unfair to him because now you're putting him in a position that he's probably not comfortable with at all.
He's not going to be successful with 9 times out of 10.
Right.
So I think in that situation, we're getting pressed. You got to go small. You got to go 1 big, 4 guards, or 3 guards and a wing, and then and 1 big or something, and then try to get through it. I mean, we've got to get some ball handlers out there, and if Deuce isn't comfortable being the 1, which at times I think he showed the last 3 games where he's actually probably more suitable to being a 2 guard than the point guard, but I think you're going to see him as the point guard for the vast majority of our season. But I think just getting some guards in there to kind of break that pressure, because once you get that broken, then it becomes a problem for the other team, because if you start breaking that press, they're going to have to get out of it because you're going to get easy layups.
Oh, I think the other thing that that worries me about that is I don't think there's space for. I mean, there's space for him, but I would rather not see him take that 2 spot, because Taz and McNeil both had pretty good games, and especially, I understand. I think Huggins is really hot on Sean McNeil and wants to play him. I mean, he averaged the most minutes of any player on the team throughout the 3 days, but Taz was 7 for 11, 63% beyond the arc, which is huge. McNeil hit what you expected him to hit. He was, 7 for 23, 30%. That's about where he's probably going to be when the season susses out. But Taz was just hot, had the hot hand when he got it up. 7 for 11 was phenomenal. And so I kind of he kept playing McNeil more and more at that 2, and I was like, God, I want Taz in there. I want to see what Taz can do.
Well, especially when he had the hot hand. And then I think the other thing for me, Scoot, is not that it's probably just me because I pay attention to him. I like Emmett Matthews, and I want to see him be a star on this team and a leader that I think he can be. But I left this tournament just wanting more from him, wanting more out of, what we know he can do. He looked a little flat, and I thought against Western Kentucky, he kind of just sort of disappeared as the game went on. So, I mean, look, it's early. I think they're going to get these things figured out. I think if nothing else, it's good. Hugs was the first to mention, after the South Dakota State game, hey, look, we haven't had the opportunity to play a whole lot of scrimmages. We're going game by game. So we came out of here 3-0. I'm not going to knock them around, but I think just from we're going to be watching them and being critical, and looking for things that we want to talk about on here. And I think that was one thing for me. I'd like to see Emmett just more out of him, because he can, when he turns it on, man, and when he's hitting, we always are like, wow, you can see the ability. I thought we just needed more out of him.
Well, and to go back to what you just said about getting these games in, that's going to be huge, because if this had hit a snag and we didn't get to play these 3 games, and our first game was going to be against Gonzaga, that would be bad.
Yeah, you're like walking into a buzzsaw.
Because you saw how Kansas's first game went against them.
Yeah.
And that's, I get it. I don't think Kansas is what they were.
Still.
But, they still came in highly ranked. They're somewhat revered. They've got some ridiculous streak of conference championships. They have an excellent shoe deal with Adidas. They have Snoop Dogg on speed dial for pregame ceremonies. They got squashed by Gonzaga big time.
Yeah, and I guess, Guido, I need to dig into it a little bit more, but do we think, I was super excited to see the announcement for this Gonzaga game. Do we think we're going to actually be able to play this game? Because it sounded like the news out of Gonzaga's camp was that they were already getting a little bit of flack for maybe having some COVID positives or COVID exposure, but they went ahead and played that game.
Right.
And then people were even alluding to, it looked like Mark Few wasn't doing so hot on the sideline. Conspiracy theories then start to run, I feel like, but it just felt like maybe there was more COVID news around them. So that's probably something else we need to watch.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, that's one of the things that it'll be interesting to see what happens. We record this show early in the week. That game is Wednesday, the 2nd, December 2nd at 7 p.m., and it's in Indianapolis. So you've got Gonzaga that has to travel clear from Washington, over. You've got us coming from Morgantown. You've got a lot of time for more things to break out. Gonzaga caught a lot of flack for, only holding those 2 players out of that Auburn game and not, stepping out of it because of the positives that they had on the team and guys who were on the bench or on the, with the team, in the Kansas game. I don't know. I mean, I think this whole season is going to be like this, and because we record this show a few days before we release it, I think it's going to be a lot of us saying, well, we may have a game coming up and we may not have a game and may get canceled.
Well, and I guess I bring it up because I really hope it's played. I'm excited. You love the chance to play a team like this, so I hope it happens, but I guess we'll have to just see if that goes forward.
And we've got 2 games this week, 2 awesome games this week, too, because you got the Gonzaga game on Wednesday. It's going to be on ESPN for the Jimmy V Classic, which, I think because of what that game is and because of ESPN and the Jimmy V Classic and all of that, they're going to try as hard as they can to play that game. And I think as long as West Virginia's healthy, I think West Virginia goes and plays. The question is, are they playing Gonzaga or are they playing somebody else?
Yeah.
I think that's what will come up. And then on top of that, on Sunday, the 6th, this coming Sunday, on Fox Sports 1, we play Georgetown in D.C., which is a game we're all super excited for just because getting to see Georgetown and, those old Big East rivalries. So I think that's going to be interesting.
This just in, my sources are telling me that somebody from St. Joseph's basketball team has turned up with a positive COVID case. They played Gonzaga earlier in the week.
Ooh.
Yeah.
So...
And this is what this season's going to be. And I mean, you look at you even look at what happened at the Crossover Classic, where what was it, 2 days before VCU was added, and I'm sure similar to our situation of coming into Jimmy V and taking over for Tennessee in that game. I'm sure somebody at ESPN or whoever's running the Jimmy V Classic already has 2 or 3 other teams on speed dial waiting for them, waiting to come in and play.
So do you think WVU stays in it and they bring another team in?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think as long as WVU stays healthy, I don't see why WVU wouldn't.
I would like that.
ESPN's going to have a game at that time no matter what. It's just a matter of can the Gonzaga make that trip or not. And it could be, even we saw.
So I'm wondering, do you find a team like a Butler or somebody close by that wouldn't need to really do too much to get there if it's a last minute?
Notre Dame.
Are you putting Indiana, Notre Dame? Are you putting some of those schools? Notre Dame was looking for a game. Mike Bray went to Twitter asking teams if they had any openings. Like, who does that?
Yeah, which is so
It'll
weird.
be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what happens. I think I think the whole season's going to be like this. I think the difference is when we get into Big 12 play, it'll be more of games moving around, dates and times and all of that.
Now, something interesting. One last thing. In our Western Kentucky game, there was a West Virginia connection.
Yes.
There was from our faithful listener, a good friend of the show, Jeremy Kreitz's hometown. We had Luke Frampton.
Yes.
Who was a transfer from Davidson.
Yeah, and he played quite a bit.
Polka dots.
Yeah, the polka dots. And so
he did play quite a bit. He got a lot of TV time too. So
polka kind of is a secret,
hotbed.
Yeah, hotbed.
Basketball hotbed.
I wonder if
there,
Kreitz has got some game. Maybe he does. I'm not sure. I guess he probably has to, right? They got Frampton brothers. Elijah Cuffey is at Liberty playing Division I basketball. Isaac McNeely is that hot recruit.
Yeah, four-star recruit.
Maybe there's something going on there that we're unaware of. And maybe our buddy Kreitz can let us in on Twitter. Let us know the secret.
All right, guys. So going back real quick to the Crossover Classic and talking about the WVU team and their play. What was your guys' take on the two youngins, Jalen Bridges and Isaiah Cottrell? Depends on how you hear it.
I'm calling him Cottrell.
I call it Cottrell, too.
That's what yes.
What was your guys' take on the play from those two guys? Did you just see anything? Was there anything interesting out of it?
Well, I think Scoot, in fairness to them, I mean, when Cottrell comes in the game, I love him immediately because he almost looks like one of the biggest dudes on the court. You get the feeling like if he just gets it figured out, he's going to be a force. And I think for Jalen Bridges too, I felt the same way. He just looked a little like out of his element a little bit. And I think in fairness to them, that's just, they got to get to know their role and their surroundings and stuff. But I'm still excited about both of them.
Yeah, Cottrell to me, because he came to us from Huntington Prep, which is basically like a high school all-star team. I mean, one of their guys was the number 1 recruit for Duke last year. They had a guy that came off the bench, a 7-foot tall guy that went to Baylor. Off the bench. Didn't even start.
Off the bench.
Went to Baylor. For Isaiah, the big issue is going to be, one, he's playing amazing players every time he's out there. And two, he's going to have to fill this kind of big man role for us. And I don't know that he's 100% comfortable necessarily posting up and playing high-low post game. I think if we were to see him, I think he'd probably rather be out in the wing where he can kind of drive to the basket. But once he figures that out and realizes kind of what his role, like you said, what his role is on this team, because I think he's going to start seeing more minutes once he figures that out. I think he's going to be, or could be, somewhat of an offensive spark for us out of the post or out of kind of like a mid-range game.
But don't you guys think, like, just physically when he steps onto the floor, I mean, I get excited about him because he looks, I mean, he looks imposing. He looks like he could be a force.
And I'm excited to give him another year of weightlifting with Huggins' guys.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because I think you're going to start to see him really become I mean, he's already got a big frame. He'll really fill that out. Now, as far as Jalen Bridges goes, Jalen has a real great opportunity in front of him if he like Hug said, slows down and kind of lets the game come to him instead of forcing it on him. Yeah, I think that was the
comment, right? Just slow down and let it happen.
Because in my mind, he is Emmett Matthews' handcuff, right? So if Emmett is struggling, Jalen Bridges is probably the guy you want to bring in. But you can't bring him in if he's going to just chuck shots and look kind of skittish. And that's kind of how he looked to me the first 3 games.
Yeah, I would agree. And I was just trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. I think they're going to have to grow into those roles and those positions. And I think it's going to be one of those things too, Scoot, probably more with Cottrell, I think, than even I can see Bridges playing a little bit more, to be honest with you. I think with Cottrell, it's going to be like, hey, you're subbing in for one of our main dudes.
And he's not used to that.
Yeah, and that's a bit of pressure. Like, it's a couple minutes of, okay, I got to perform here.
And he's probably never come off the bench ever in his life.
Right.
Like, you think, like, he's 6'10", ginormous. Like, Huntington Prep, where it's like I said, all-stars upon all, the 6th man went to Baylor. Like,
yeah.
And this guy's coming off the bench now. So there's a little bit of like, okay, I gotta eat a syrup sandwich, like Kendrick Lamar says. So he's got to eat that syrup sandwich and come back.
I think we saw, and I think I think it's right on the head, Scoot. You saw it in their gameplay this weekend between the two of them that, Isaiah just looked more in his element. It looked like he was ready for that level of play where I think Jalen didn't. And, you can see where, JB just hasn't had time to play with this level of competition. And I think that's what really made it look kind of rough on him, because he was trying to do things that I think were super successful as a Fairmont Senior Polar Bear, but didn't necessarily work even against a mid-major team.
Right.
And there's two sides of it, right? You can do that, which is what he did, or you could kind of play the other way, which I think Chase Harler did his freshman year, where it was like, let's just not screw this up. Don't pass me the ball right now because I might make a mistake. Right. And I don't want to do that.
Just let me be a body on the court. I'll be out here, I'll run around.
For me, I'd rather deal with the guy that's pushing too hard, because you can eventually rein him in, for the guy than to try to get somebody to be more assertive. that's tougher to do as a coach. So
someone, Scoot, I have to bring this up, Guido. So Scoot, someone I feel like they may fit into that latter category is maybe Kedrian Johnson.
Yes. Kedrian is 0 for 2 to start his Mountaineer career, and he had what I would call the brick heard round the Pentagon with that first shot. I mean, that was if I was announcing a football game, that sucker was wide left.
Well, in fairness to him, I mean, I like the confidence. Like, I hope he keeps coming out that way.
He's a lockdown defender. Like he led.
Yeah. Like, I hope he doesn't let that stuff like, oh crap. Like, I hope he keeps coming out and giving that,
And again, he's another guy. That's the toughest part for some of these guys. So Kedrian Johnson, a JUCO transfer who led the country, I think, in steals in JUCO his last time playing, his last year, sophomore year. Now, obviously he was a starter. Now, by the way, you're going to come in with about 2 minutes left in the game. This is the situation. So his first thought is, I've got to make an impression. I've got to hit this shot.
Yeah.
So maybe I can get another couple minutes. That's
right.
Unfortunately for him, that's not how he's going to earn playing time. It's going to be earned in practice. And once he realizes that, then he'll start to see some more time. And I think Hugs even made a comment saying that if you're not playing, it's because others are playing better than you right now. So he needs to realize, I'm going to earn that time in practice, not in this game, shooting a ridiculous three-pointer 5 feet left of the backboard. Because I don't think he did anything.
I mean, it was just, like I said, I hope that stuff doesn't keep him from coming out there with tenacity.
And you got to remember, looking at Huggins's, the history of how Huggins brings in JUCO guys. They very rarely come in that first year and play.
Yeah,
it's always that he gets them, and they're built for their senior years.
Yeah,
that's what
I would
does.
agree with that.
I think it'll be interesting. I think the thing that bummed me out the most, and this is a typical, and I mean, I know it's so early, and it's they haven't had a lot of scrimmages. They didn't get any exhibition games or any of that kind of stuff.
And Guido, I have to keep reminding you and I that we were 3-0 after this tournament.
I know. I think that the concern for me is the fact that we as a WVU basketball team, I feel like always play to the level of our competitors. And so we didn't get that chance where we were blowing a team out and then Kedrian Johnson got, 10 minutes instead of 2 minutes, and I think that that's the one thing that some of these guys, and you're not going to see them get any time against Gonzaga. If anything, you're going to see that, hopefully you're going to see those double-digit times shorten up in this Gonzaga game. And same thing is going to be true with Georgetown, So there are very few of these, for lack of a better term, patsies that we get to play the next couple of weeks to help those guys get time, because then you hit Big 12 games, and I think that it's going to thin out even more for them. So.
Yeah, and I think, too, they always kind of, in this tournament, it felt like they let it get to a point where, like, oh, okay, well, let's get it back together, and then let's pull it,
well,
pull
and we
through.
usually, and that's the hard part about this year, is, like, there's usually a November that's, like, chocked full of an MEC team and, whatever, Boston University, like, teams that are just horrible at basketball, that these guys get some playing time. I mean, Johnson and I went to that BU game last year together, and Gabe Osaboyan played like 25 minutes in that game, you know? So it was like, these guys aren't getting that kind of time that you would get in a normal season.
I think though, we're going to look back and we're going to say, man, we got 3 wins. That's 3 wins that we might not have gotten.
Right.
South Dakota State won their conference. They had the reigning player of the year. VCU's a good program. They're not necessarily what they were with Shaka Smart, but they're still a very solid program. And then you've got Western Kentucky, who, if you listen to Dan Dockich and that other guy, Rich Hollenberg, they constantly talked about Charles Bassey being like a lottery pick in next year's draft.
Yeah.
So and they're a pretty solid team. If you watch their other games against the other teams they play, I mean, they're a pretty solid team. So those are 3 decent wins. And then I'm looking around college basketball, and Kentucky, who's ranked 10th, got beat double digits by Richmond.
Yeah.
So
Virginia gets beat by the Dons.
Yeah, San Francisco. So we're looking around and saying, man, why can't we beat these teams by more? Let's just be happy we're beating these teams and then move on.
You're right.
No, I totally agree. And I think we'll look back and we'll be very happy. I think Guido and I are, we are very much in the fabric of the WVU fandom, and this is what we do, Scoot. So you just have to.
I do think that we're going to look, and this season is probably going to have some starts and stops. You might be supposed to be playing 2 or 3 games this week, and one of those teams is out, or you played somebody last Saturday and you find out that one of their players tested positive, so now we may have to shut some things down, or so I think any games that we get in and any wins that we get are going to be all positive, and then hopefully we don't get hit too badly by COVID. I'm sure there's going to be somebody exposed at some point that we're going to have to do something different, but like you look at St. Joseph's, if they've paused all basketball stuff for right now. So hopefully we don't come across anything like that. We can get some games in and then get us to a tournament.
Yeah,
really, that's how I want. Just get us to a tournament.
Right.
Definitely.
Because I think that's an isolated bubble situation. If they do it like Stanford did, or Stanford. If they do it like Stanford did, I don't have any doubts. And from what I've heard, they're going to try to do all 68 teams in one location, right? Does that sound right? In Indianapolis?
That's what the rumor. Nothing's official yet, but that's been the rumor. That
and I think that's
March
great.
Madness is going to be, at whatever, the Wild Water Sports down in Disney or whatever it might end up being. So that is the rumor right now. Well, guys, a lot of basketball talk coming up. So excited to be talking about it this season. I do want to pivot to one other thing that we have to talk about in basketball, which is WVU's women's team starts off 2-0 with a win over Fresno State and Mike Carey's 700th win over LSU.
Yeah, huge. I mean, talk about 2 coaches in the program that are racking up wins. I mean, that's super impressive.
Yeah, that's great for him.
Is there a university that has as solid a football? I know we get down on them, but at times rightfully so. But as solid a football, men's and women's basketball programs.
Wait, are you saying you get down on the football program? Is that what I'm supposed to believe here?
You, Scoot, get down?
I sometimes do. This year especially. Last year I was all in, man. I trusted the climb. I was the first one to the top. But this year I'm still at base camp.
Well, I think we'd have to look that up, but I have to think we're up there. I mean, you mean consistent wins
year in, year
wise,
out, right?
Yeah.
You may not win necessarily championships,
right?
But you are competing for possible championships, either conference or you've got winning records. But I mean, if you look, I mean, we talk about, is this a football school or is this a basketball school? WVU kind of fits both, right? You've got a couple schools that are like that. I always think of Florida as kind of being both. WVU is both. Kansas is not both. Kentucky is not both.
No, that's right. I think for the most part, we're spoiled and we probably don't realize it. But yeah, I would say we're right up there.
And then you throw in women's basketball. I don't know anything about Kentucky's women's basketball team or Florida's women's basketball team. They could be horrible for all I know, but that WVU is perennially ranked in the top 25. They've got what sounds to me like a Hall of Fame coach in Mike Carey, who I've seen at a coach's clinic, and he's a great speaker, great guy, really has the kids buying in. He used to coach Salem's men's team and then transitioned over to WVU's girls team, which is kind of tough to do. But I think congratulations to him. I think it's a pretty impressive achievement. We've got over 1,500 wins between our 2 basketball coaches.
Yeah, pretty remarkable.
That's crazy.
It's amazing. And I will say the one thing, as much as we want to, Dan Dockich was annoying over those 3 days. He had said in the 2 games that he did for WVU, he'd said in both of those games that Huggins better be on, the Hall of Fame ballot this year. And
in
he's
his
right.
defense, he did bring that up.
I feel like he's one of those guys that acts like he's really tight with Coach Huggins, and Coach Huggins would like to just punch him in the face.
Probably.
Like, would you not agree with that?
Yeah, that may be a true statement.
It's all talk because Dockich can get behind the microphone.
I feel like Coach Huggins is like that with a lot of people. I feel like there's a lot of people where Coach Huggins plays nice but really wants to punch them. I get that. I feel like that's how he kind of is with Tony Caridi sometimes. It's like, I feel like, man, Tony's asking him questions. I'm like, oh, Huggins is gonna punch him right in the face.
Do you think when Hugs rolled in to Sanford and he saw Dockich,
Sorry, TC.
he thought, and there was an eye roll, and he thought, oh, jeez, I've got to put up with this guy for 3 days.
Here's this guy.
I don't want to even
gosh.
Or like he gives him a hey, how's it going? And then he turns to like Ron Everhart and he's like, get a load of this.
He's like over at the the chicken cordon bleu over at the spread. He's like, I really want that. Hey, Eric Martin, can you go get me a couple of those? Because I don't want.
I don't want to talk to Dockich
go up there next to
Dockich is over there. I don't want to go over by Dockich. Do you think he runs a buffer? Does he run a screen?
He's like, look,
guy?
just give me a plate of the
run a screen.
Rangoons. They're over by Dockich. I'm not going up there.
Is Jared Eilert the buffer guy?
Might be.
The screener?
Might be.
Yeah, he might have to run like interference.
Hey, is Bob over there? Oh, he said he has to go up to the hotel room for something.
Crazy thing. He just stepped away. I'll let him know.
He wanted to go sit on one of those lawnmowers out in the lobby.
He's out there doing the mower photo shoot. He'll be right back.
All right, guys. Well, listen, let's take a quick break. We're going to go to everybody's favorite segment on our show because we hear about it all the time. It's the number one game show on a West Virginia University sports podcast. It's called Bluff the Fluffs, and we'll do it when we come back. You're listening to Got Your Eers On. Vortec Knives is a West Virginia owned and operated company specializing in high-quality steel, fast-opening, everyday carrying knives. If you go to vortechknives.com today and use the code GYEO, you get a 25% discount on your entire order. That's Vortech, VORTEK knives.com, a West Virginia owned and operated company specializing in fast-opening, high-quality, everyday carry knives. Vortec Knives. All right, everybody, welcome back to Got Your Eers On. Guido along with Scoot and Johnson. Don't forget, find us on the social medias. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter at Got Your Ears. You can also look for us on Facebook. Just search Got Your Eers On. Like, subscribe, share it to all your friends. They need to be a part of the whole song and dance that we have here. It's a good time. We're funny.
Yeah, we think.
We think.
Scoot thinks.
I don't know about you guys.
Scoot knows he's funny.
I am funny. I don't know about you guys. The jury is still out.
Well, guys, it's time for the number one game show on a West Virginia University sports podcast. It's a little game we like to call Bluff the Fluffs. Last week, Johnson pulled out a very eked win right there. He was down. I will say, Scoot, last week was tough for you because you got more of the Brett Solheim questions right than Johnson did, but Johnson took it on Final Bluff.
I've proven that I know him better.
No, actually that's what I was going to say. I mean, it worked out as, fates would have it to show that I am truly the better friend to Brent Solheim than you are.
I think I would argue that.
I mean, score don't lie.
Like, you're one of those guys that Brent asks over to the party and you show up late. I'm there from the get-go because I'm a good friend.
That's probably a very true statement.
Eating all the macaroni and cheese.
If he's offering, I'm having.
Johnson now leads 14 games to 11 over you, Scoot. You still got time to come back. There's still a chance. I'm just saying.
We're getting into the late innings here, though.
We're getting into the late innings. I mean, it's close to the end here.
I'm like Dennis Eckersley of game shows.
Interesting choice.
Right. I'm a closer. I'm like the Sandman, Mariano.
Well, this week, guys, I thought, because they're our number one rival in the Big 12, that we should do a little bit of trivia about the home state of the Iowa State Cyclones. We're going to do a little trivia about the state of Iowa this week.
Oh, this is horrible, Guido.
And you may have to wake some people up.
Yeah.
Listen, Iowa is a very exciting state. I mean, there are plenty of things that you guys need to learn about Iowa.
Okay.
I feel like it's
if you say so.
It is the man's head on the map of the United States.
It is
what now?
The man's head, the man's face. If you look at the states, north to south, Iowa looks like the man's face.
I have no clue what
I
you're
have no
talking
idea.
about.
And then you've got Minnesota is like his hat. And then his upper body is Missouri.
Is this how you taught geography to your
Iowa's
kids?
a big square.
I mean,
his pants are are Arkansas, and then he's wearing some boots in Louisiana.
Okay, all right. If
What's
you
Florida,
say
then?
so.
Florida's nothing. Florida is just off in
okay.
front of him.
Can't say what Florida is on a podcast. Well, just to remind people, a correct answer is worth 5 points, a steal is worth 10 points, and final bluff is worth 25 points. Before we started, we had a complete and total random flip of the coin, and Johnson, you get to go first this week.
Johnson,
Yes.
I dare you to answer corn for all of your answers.
For every answer?
Every
Okay.
answer.
It was in the back of my
You
mind.
might actually win. You
yeah,
might
I mean, I
win.
feel there's a fighter's chance, right, with that answer.
Does this go back to where you should have just answered Geno Smith to all the questions and you would have had a better chance?
Yes, for every single quarterback answer, yes.
Johnson, first question is to you.
All right.
The world's largest
Boy.
concrete gnome is located in what Iowa city? Is it Cedar Rapids, Des Moines, Ames, or Waterloo?
Oh boy. See, here's the first problem I have, Scoot, with these questions. It just occurred to me that I don't know that I know 4 cities in Iowa, so I can't tell if one of these is actually not even real.
These are all real.
Because you know how Guido will be like Marstown or something. He'll just like throw something in.
These are all real cities in
Well,
Iowa.
I'm going to go with, I feel like this is something that you might find in Cedar Rapids. Oh,
Sorry, that's incorrect. It's not Cedar Rapids. Scoot, Des Moines, Ames, or Waterloo?
Well, largest gnome?
Largest concrete gnome.
I can't imagine. I don't think they would put that in the capital. So that's going to make me think either Waterloo or Ames. I'm going to go with Ames.
That's a correct answer for 10 points. Ames is the home of the world's largest concrete gnome. Hopefully the guys get to go see it this week.
how
when they're
big
there.
is this concrete gnome?
I have no idea. It's the world's largest.
Oh,
Do
man,
the
come on.
Cyclones, do the Iowa State players, do they rub the gnome as they walk into the stadium?
Just like we, yeah, right? They don't, they have like the gnome trip and they rub the gnome as they,
Yeah, the gnome trip.
Yeah, they go rub the
Yes.
gnome's hat or something.
I like it. All right. Congratulations, Scoot. You come out to a big lead, 10-0 over Johnson to start. And this next question is back to you. With the zip code of 50278, which of these cities is an actual name in Iowa? Is it Green, Zering, Spelling, or Garth?
Ooh. Well,
Which
of course, you're referring to 90210. Jenny Garth is hot, so I'm going Garth.
Sorry, Garth is not the name of an actual city in Iowa. Johnson, Green, Zering, or Spelling?
I'm going to go with Spelling.
Sorry, that's incorrect. The correct answer is
Oh,
Zering.
boy.
Zering, Iowa.
Ian
My
Ziering.
least favorite 90210 character.
Steve? You didn't like Steve?
I didn't like Steve.
All right, so nobody gets a point there. It's still 10-0 Scooty. And on Johnson, this next question is back to you. What is the average number of tornadoes in Iowa each year? Is it 37, 55, 21, or 95? Average.
Average per year. Well, 90 seems crazy. I hope. I mean, these poor people, if that's in the wheelhouse. I'm also going to say 55 is too high because that's like one a week, more than one a week. So you had an option that was 30-ish.
37
I'm going to go
or 21?
I'm going to go with 37.
That's correct. 37 tornadoes a year.
That still
is the
seems
average.
crazy.
Wouldn't it be
Scoot.
ironic if they had none and their mascot was a cyclone?
They're like, psych.
Here's what I never got. Like, I feel like a tornado is a bad thing. Like, why would you want to have a mascot team named after them?
Well, I guess it's like, fear the kind of like Miami, being a hurricane. I don't think anyone loves hurricanes.
I guess
What
that's
about
true, too.
Tulsa? Aren't they the Golden Hurricanes?
Yeah, they're the golden hurricane.
Which makes zero sense to me.
Well, to
Yeah,
me,
sure.
but maybe it does if you live in the Southwest. I don't know.
I don't even know.
Maybe a gold. Actually, I don't know. I'm not even going to speculate. I have no idea.
It's like somebody said, let's go weather.
Okay, what do you got with this weather? You got a color with this weather? Or
we got to put a color with it because the weather doesn't make any sense. Hurricane. Johnny said hurricane. I like hurricanes. We can go with the flag.
Do we have them? Yeah, we kind of have them.
We got that red flag.
How about the blue hurricanes? You want to go with the blue hurricanes?
We don't have a lot of water. Let's. We got dirt. Let's go golden hurricanes.
Okay, that sounds great. Let's do it. I feel like we could name. They should hire us to name college teams. We'd be great at that. That'd be a great.
Steve went brown hurricane. Steve can't go brown. It's like some kind of stomach ailment. You can't go brown hurricane.
Did they put it in front of a focus group?
Probably.
Well, the results are back, and Golden Hurricane came out the winner.
They got together with the people that made the Hot Pockets theme song, and they came up with golden
temperature in every bite. We're going to go with Golden Hurricane.
All right, so Johnson gets 5 points there, but Scoot still has the lead 10-5. And Scooty, this next question is back to you. We all know Iowa State is the closest Big 12 school to Morgantown with 874 miles for WVU to travel. What Big 12 school is the next closest to Morgantown? Is it Kansas State, Oklahoma State, Kansas, or TCU?
Well, that's a good question, Guido.
It is.
That's why he asked it.
You said TCU, Kansas State, and Oklahoma State?
Correct.
Ooh, I like my chances with Lawrence, Kansas, so I'm going Kansas.
That's correct. Kansas is the next closest, and then you go Kansas State, and then Oklahoma State after that. So, why can't Kansas be our rival? Why does it got to be by miles?
I don't want any of them to be our rival. But
I'm with Guido though. If I have to pick one out of this conference, Iowa State is like the most milquetoast of the teams to begin with. I feel like the other Big 12 teams got together and they were like, we don't like Iowa State anyway. Just put them over there in West Virginia. Let them be rivals.
I say this and I'll say it again. No disrespect to Iowa State alums, but I don't want my daughters going there. Now, unless they've offered, I'm not going to get excited unless they're getting some sort of crazy scholarship. If my daughter said, hey, I really want to go to Iowa State, I'm going to say, why? What? Why?
Well, they've got the largest concrete gnome in the world there.
That's what I was getting ready to say. Dad, have you seen this concrete gnome?
Have you seen that gnome?
I'm just saying that's a big gnome, Scoot.
I'm just saying that's a big gnome. That's all.
All right, congratulations, Scoot. Got another 5 points right there and still has the lead 15-5 over Johnson. And this next question is back to you, Sir Johnson. Jay Berwagner was born in Iowa, and he is also known as the first athlete to win this famous award. Was it the Cy Young Award, the Heisman Trophy, the Naismith Award, or the Anna Stuckus Trophy?
Ooh, Anna Stuckus, I want to pick you. But you're Canadian, and as much as I don't really know about Iowa, I know they're not Canadian, so you're out. I'm gonna go with. Oh boy.
Remember when Burr Wagner was setting the world on fire? I mean, he was really turning it up collegiately.
I'm going to go with the Naismith Award.
Sorry, that's incorrect. Scooty, back to you. Cy Young Award, the Heisman Award, or the Anna Stuckus Trophy?
Ooh, well, I don't
Do you need a refresher on what the Anna Stuckus is? It's the CFL Coach of the Year, in case you're wondering.
He's the first recipient of one of these?
First recipient of one of these awards.
I'm going to go with the Anna Stuckus Award.
Sorry, that's incorrect.
I would have been so angry if that was correct.
Johnson was right. It is Iowa, and that's Canada. So,
well, he could still be the coach.
No, it was the Heisman Award. He won it in 1935 when he played for the University of Chicago.
I had it down to that or Naismith. I chose poorly.
You chose poorly. Nobody gets points there. Sorry, guys. All right, Scoot, here we go. You got a lead 15-5, and this question is for you. Who was the only president of the United States to be born in Iowa?
Ooh.
Was it Grover Cleveland, Herbert Hoover, William Howard Taft, or Harry Truman?
It was Herbert Hoover.
That's correct. Scooty gets 5 points right there.
Did you know that, or was that just a guess?
I knew that. I know that Cleveland was born, I believe, in Caldwell, New Jersey.
Okay.
If memory suits me.
The only thing I know about Taft is something about a bathtub.
He got stuck. Yeah, he got stuck in a tub. I think he was an East Coast guy. And then who was my last option? Truman. I want to say he might be Missouri, but I don't know that.
I thought that was
he was another Midwestern.
Kansas or something.
Well, very good, Scoot. And Scoot, you're going into Final Bluff with a pretty commanding lead, 20-5. So it's winner take all again. Johnson, I have to get this right, buddy, to even have a chance.
Iowa trivia's killing me.
Before we do this, we always ask you guys, what is your buzzer sound this week?
Corn.
All right. And Johnson, what do you got for a buzzer?
Burwanger.
Burwanger. Okay. We'll go with that. Okay. Here we go. All right. Final question. Don't forget to buzz in. The town of Sabula, Iowa, is famous for what? Being the largest corn grower in the United States, being located completely on an island, being located inside the city limits of Des Moines, or having a population of one person?
Burwanger.
Johnson.
It seems odd that you would put it in the rundown of answers, so I'm going to go with it's completely located on an island.
Oh, my God.
That's correct for 25 points and the win.
Oh, my
Johnson ekes one back out 2 weeks in a row on Final Bluff. Johnson comes back for the win. Johnson wins 30-20. Yes, Sabula, Iowa is located on an island, completely on an island in the Mississippi River.
Ugh.
So there you go. Scooty, you look
ridiculous.
so...
Scoot, one more thing to like about Iowa.
I know Iowa better than you, yet I lose.
This is 2 weeks in a row, Scooty, where you have actually answered more questions correctly than Johnson, but yet you turn
I know.
on the...
I know. I do all the dirty work.
That's rough. That is rough. All right. Well, congratulations. Johnson now has the lead of 15 games to 11. And Scooty, if my math is correct, the best you can do right now is tie Johnson.
Them jeans
at the
do
end of the
be
year.
tight.
You got to go on a run.
You got to go on a run.
You got to go on a December run to remember.
The best you can do is tie Johnson. Couple weeks left, and it's not looking too hot for you, buddy. The trophy is going to go to Mr. Johnson this year.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
He's speechless.
It's rigged. It's all rigged.
It's rigged.
This is like the WWF of game shows on West Virginia sports podcasts. Like, we already know the outcome.
Maybe. Maybe not.
Rigged.
Yeah, because I'm smart.
Oh, good grief.
You've been lucky the last 2 weeks.
And
Johnson.
lucky.
Very lucky the last 2 weeks. Well, listen, let's take a break. We're going to come back with a segment that we like to pluck from behind Scooty's mandula oblongata and put into your ears. It's a little segment we like to call I Can't Believe My Eers. So don't go anywhere. You're listening to Got Your Eers On.
Tactical Legion Knives, a West Virginia owned and operated company that specializes in heavy-duty tactical knives and gear for the professional warrior, the weekend warrior, and the outdoor warrior. Our products are built tough. For who? For warriors. Hey Mountaineer fans, make sure you go on Amazon and search Tactical Legion Knives, and when you do, make sure you put in the promo code 25TOBRADIO for Tob Radio. You'll get 25% off on Tactical Legion Knives.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Guido here along with Scoot and Johnson. Don't forget, check out our website and our merch section. You can buy Got Your Eers On material. You can buy shirts and you can buy fanny packs. There's hats. There's stickers. Definitely go check it out. GotYourEersOn.com, Johnson.
Yeah, you can get to the merch store by following the link right on the site. And like Guido said, you can jump in there and just start checking off your holiday list. I mean, come on, it's shopping season right now. You can also see all of the show notes for the latest show in the blog post. We put all the show notes in there with links to the stuff we talk about, probably even some stuff we don't talk about. And you can also listen via the TuneIn link right on the site. So check it out.
Yeah, definitely check it out. GotYourEersOn.com. Well, most weeks we allow Scooty to go out on the internet and look for something that interests him and probably frightens most of you. And that's what we do every week. And it's a little segment we like to call I can't believe my ears. What do you got for us this week, Scooty?
Well, gentlemen, I have two things I want to talk to you about.
Okay.
The second kind of being kind of like a follow-up to a previous Can't Believe My Ears.
All right.
The first one, though, I know we don't like to talk politics much on this podcast,
But you're going to
but
dive
we're going to do that today.
Okay.
Okay. In Taiwan, which
Right.
are you familiar with Taiwanese politics
Negative.
and their government?
Not at all.
Okay, well,
No.
apparently they are controlled, or the ruling party is the Democratic Progressive Party is the one in charge. However, there is a nationalist party called the KMT, and this past Friday they got into a heated debate over pig, I guess it would be pork product exports and
Okay.
imports.
Okay.
All right.
And the heated debate took a turn when they started throwing pig parts at each other. Like bags of pig organs were being
Okay.
Like on the Senate floor? Was this like...
Yes.
This was like...
on the floor. They were throwing. It was almost kind of like when you go to a hockey game in Detroit and they throw a octopus
For a hat
on
trick?
the ice.
Yeah.
They were throwing pig organs at each other. Here, watch out for the giblets. Here they come. Look out for the. I don't even know what other pig parts are, but they're throwing pig parts at each other.
This
and
is
then
bad news, Guido. This is no good.
not
then it
great.
turned into a fist fight on the floor of the
Well, I
parliament.
mean, look, you hit me with some pickled pig's feet, and I might take a swing at you. I mean, I get it. I totally get it.
They're upset because I guess the ruling party was going to change a law that allowed imported pork from the United States. And that's a problem, I guess, because we use some sort of preservative that is banned in Taiwan and in
Okay.
several places in Europe.
It probably makes it more awesome, but I mean, if you don't want awesome pork, Taiwan,
If you,
that's
don't want,
fine.
if you don't want our awesome American pork...
Yeah, so pig guts and punches were hurled during the Taiwan Parliament Row.
Pig guts and punches. That's hilarious.
It looked pretty gross. There was a video you can watch on, I believe it's Twitter.
I'd rather not.
There's a Twitter video. At some
Sure
point
there is.
I watched it. At some point during all of this, there's a guy with a microphone. I'm going to assume he is some sort of parliament member, and he is just yelling nonstop Taiwanese stuff.
Is he like the and one
He kind of was
mixtape
like
guy
a
of
mixtape
this?
guy. Hot sauce! Look out! Here comes some hot sauce! Like he was getting like crazy with it, but he's yelling, of course, in Taiwanese, which makes
So we
zero
don't
sense
really
to
know what he's
no,
saying.
I don't know what he's saying, but it was like, and also there's an abundance of what sounds like referee whistles going on. Like
Wait. Were there people dressed as referees?
I did not see any referees in the crowd
Is that like
or
I wonder if
traffic
that's
cops.
I wonder if that's a I wonder if that's a normal thing, like during
I don't know.
political discussions in this chamber to have like whistles and stuff like that.
Like if you were at a beatnik poetry thing, they start snapping because they like what
Yeah.
you're doing.
All right.
If they like what you're doing, they start blowing a whistle or something. It's like pandemonium on the Taiwanese parliament floor. And it got a little crazy up in there. So I wanted to share that with you. Those of you that are keeping track of the pig product export and imports in Taiwan, it's
No,
getting
I
a little,
appreciate
it's getting
that, Scoot.
critical.
I appreciate
Those
it.
big commodities, man.
Yeah.
People are on top of them. Yeah.
Now, I did tell you I had teased you with, I wanted to follow up on something. Okay. Well, recently we talked about a guy who had a snowmobile on the roof of his car.
Yes, we did.
Oh yeah.
in
Yeah.
Wisconsin.
I think. Was it
It was
Wisconsin?
Wisconsin. Well, apparently he must have been a trendsetter
Okay.
because a Florida man, which this shouldn't surprise you because we always
Florida
used
man.
to, back in our old
Florida
show, we used to
man.
talk about Florida men all the time.
Yes.
A Florida man was arrested for strapping a downed light pole to the roof of his car.
All right.
Again,
Okay.
I mean, if you've got what looks to be a late 90s, early 2000s Toyota Camry, strapping a gigantic light pole to the roof of your car is not allowed.
So I'm picturing north to south, like hood to trunk on
It
a
is
car on
hood
this
to
Camry,
trunk. It appears that the base
and it
was
looks
toward
like
the
he's
front.
like he's ready to joust or
if you
something,
will,
right?
Yes, almost yes, like a lance. A lance? Is it a lance? It is a lance.
I think it is a lance.
What's more impressive, maybe, is that the man was 71.
Okay.
So
Okay.
you would like to think common sense should be in play at 71,
Yes,
right? I
right.
mean, I guess this sounds critical, but I guess if you're not very intelligent and you're young, somehow age fixes that, right? Like nobody ever says,
Experience
"Well,
plays a role.
that 75-year-old, he is just really dumb." Nobody ever says that because
Right.
it's an elder. So everyone says, "Oh, that 75-year-old."
And if he was that dumb, he usually doesn't make it to 75.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So
in his defense, he would not be there.
So at 71, this man is putting a light pole. He said he found the pole on the ground by the side of the highway and wanted to sell the metal for scrap. Apparently,
hey,
now,
times are hard, man.
for those
Yeah,
of
right.
you that are thinking about doing this, it does carry a grand theft charge. So apparently light poles are expensive.
Holy
Is what I got
moly.
from this.
This is bad news for that dude.
That's bad news for that guy. I mean, he was just trying to get
Yeah.
like a couple hundy and some scrap
He's trying
metal.
to just be entrepreneurial. Now he's going to the big house, it sounds like.
Like, here's the thing. You're driving down the highway. You notice this light pole off to the
Yeah.
side of the road.
Right.
Your first thought is, hey, looks like nobody wants that. Maybe I could sell it.
I guess.
Maybe I could
Right.
sell the metal for scrap metal. Right? Okay. So does your next thought say, well, I've got some rope in the trunk. Let's see if I can put it on top of the Camry. Or is it, should I maybe get a trailer? Maybe go get a truck? Something that would look more appropriate in hauling such an item.
Well, I mean, Scoot, time is of the essence. I mean, I don't know how the metal market works. Maybe he felt like he had to be quick to market with that stuff.
I mean, it's a gigantic light pole, and it's metal. Like, how this man I feel like you need an accomplice,
I was
right?
just getting ready to say that. Yeah, how do you even get it up there on
Yeah,
the
right.
roof?
There had to be somebody.
And based on this photo, it appears as such that he did not include any kind of, when you move your house, they will put the, I guess they're like a mover's blanket over the furniture.
Sure.
He has no mover's blanket on the roof of his truck or his car.
Hastily placed on the roof.
Yes, with what looks to be some rope and maybe some ratchet strap.
And did he think that like nobody would be like, oh, that's weird. He's got a street light ratcheted to his roof.
No, maybe he thought, like sometimes when you go to your local hardware store and you get a couple of 2x4s, you stick like a red flag at the end. Maybe he thought that would get him by.
Maybe he just went to Home Depot and picked up a new light pole he was putting at his house.
Yeah.
That's what he's. I mean, what
Yeah.
could your argument be? I guess
He's
I
like,
don't know.
I didn't get this off the road. Yeah, I just bought this.
All right, guys. Well, listen, that's another great show. Appreciate you guys. Don't forget, you got a lot of WVU sports this week. We got allegedly. I feel like every week I got to say allegedly.
Yes.
We have some games this week. WVU will be playing in Ames, Iowa against Iowa State, a number 12 ranked Iowa State. This Saturday, game time TBD, still at the time of recording. Basketball, we're playing in the Jimmy V Classic on Wednesday at 7 p.m. That game's on ESPN, and it's right now scheduled to be against Gonzaga. And then we play again on we play again on Sunday against Georgetown at 4 o'clock. That's on Fox Sports 1. So some great games coming up. Totally excited about what's happening. I'm back. I'm glad, usually we get this in November. I'm glad we get it now, which is we've got basketball and football all happening at the same time. So it's great to have that going.
Best of both worlds.
Best of both worlds. So, guys, thanks for listening. Don't forget, find us on Instagram and Twitter at Got Your Ears. Look for us online on Facebook and go to our website, gotyourearson.com. We appreciate you listening. We'll be back next week. You've been listening to Got Your Ears On.